Welcome to Sparks of History, where world history and Jewish history meet. We are very, very pleased to have with us today Professor W. Barksdale Maynard. Professor Maynard was a lecturer in art and architectural history at Princeton University and Johns Hopkins University from 2002 to 2015. He is the author of 7 books and more than 100 articles in 27 magazines and newspapers, including the Washington Post and the New York Times. Just a selected list of Professor Maynard's books include The Brandywine, an intimate portrait, Princeton, America's Campus, Buildings of Delaware, Walden Pond, Architecture in the United States from the 1800 to 1850. And today we will be discussing Woodrow Wilson, Princeton to the Presidency. Former New Jersey Senator and Hall of Fame basketball star Bill Bradley called this wonderful book a fascinating account. Former Secretary of State James Baker called it masterful, and Pulitzer Prize winning columnist George Will said it is a work of high value. So we'll get right to it. Thank you again for today's interview. Just a little bit about your background and how you became interested in Woodrow Wilson.
Thank you very much, Ari. I really appreciate your introduction. And Woodrow Wilson came to Princeton University in New Jersey as a young Southerner, and I did the same more than 100 years later. And I was intrigued by what sort of experience he'd had. It must have been culture shock, I thought, to have come from the Deep South to the North. I found that myself in the 1980s. As I began to study Wilson, though, I became completely fascinated by his contradictions. He is the most perplexing. He is the strangest, most maddening person in many ways. And I've spent a long time just trying to figure him out. He's a Southerner, but not a typical Southerner. He's an academic, but doesn't really like academia very much. He's extremely shy. He loves to be at home all the time, reading Wordsworth to his wife beside the fireplace. And yet the same guy wants to run the world. So in 1,000 ways, he mystifies me.